Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that if you're returning. How you doing? So if you guys haven't heard yet, Justin Trudeau has resigned and Canada's Liberal Party has selected Mark Carney as his replacement. Yeah, so here's a little something from that.
In first place, the next Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, with 131,674 votes, resulting in 29,457 allocated points, representing 85.9% of the vote.
We've just had the announcement that Mark Carney is now the new Prime Minister of Canada and the leader, of course, of the Liberal Party. And he won by a pretty astonishing 85% of the vote. We're expecting to hear from him soon, but let's go straight to Diana Magnay, our international correspondent. Diana, not only has he won, but he has won resoundingly.
That was an astonishing difference between him and Chrystia Freeland, the number two, who's long been Deputy Prime Minister and the Finance Minister, who resigned at the end of last year. She only got 8% of the vote, and Mark Carney coming in with nearly 86%. That is absolutely astonishing. He promised a mandate for change within the Liberal Party, and I think that's clearly what people wanted. They wanted someone who was an economic strong hand, which Mark Carney, having been both Governor of the Bank of England through Brexit, Governor of the Bank of Canada too, is something that, you know, economics is his bread and butter. And I think also this was clear that they just wanted to move away from the politics of the last decade of Justin Trudeau, with whom Chrystia Freeland was so closely implicated. You know, Mark Carney is a very, very solid figure in terms of the economy and therefore dealing with Donald Trump, but he doesn't have political experience in the way that Chrystia Freeland did. He's never been a politician, but in his own words, he has been a leader. You don't lead institutions like that unless you have considerable experience leading organisations. And he has a very, very difficult job on his hands in terms of this tariff war with Donald Trump. But clearly, the Canadian Liberals felt that he was the man to combat Donald Trump rather than Chrystia Freeland.
Now, Carney is the incarnation of elite presumption. Predictably wrong on every issue. And if crowned, you know, when he was crowned the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, it's going to crash and burn. Just saying. Okay. Here's a little background on the guy. Carney has the ideal resume in the worst sense of the word. He's a Davos elitist, the ultimate insider with all the right insider views, devoted climate alarmist beyond right and left, socially liberal interventionist, smooth, wealthy former governor of not one but two national banks that failed to see inflation coming or even prevent it. Yeah, scornful of the vulgar masses too. So what's not to love? Yeah, so wonderful. Congrats, Canada. I feel bad for you guys, but you voted him in, so there's that. Now, this is absolutely insane. Glenn Beck, if you guys watch him, he's really awesome. He has revealed before Stacey Abrams, an organization of hers, received $2 billion from taxpayers, and her organization was only able to raise $100. $100. And then she received $2 billion. Yeah, that makes sense. So Elon and Doge is going after the following Democratic scams, okay? On April 2024, the past administration via the EPA handed over $7 billion of our money, taxpayer money, to a ghost called the United Climate Fund. All right. And this was all part of a $20 billion jackpot from the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund that was tacked in and tucked in. Because you know how they make those bills and everything looks all nice and shiny. But then tucked in, you know, they put like all this like BS stuff in there that nobody would ever, you know, vote for. And they're like, well, wait a minute, what's that? You know? Yeah. So then the mask slips off. And we find out that they're funneling cash to power forward communities. That thing that's tied to Stacey Abrams. Okay. No transparency on that. No accountability. Right? What's not to love? And it's just a shell. She had only raised $100 on her own. And that's all she could raise for her own organization. So go to December, all right? And James O'Keefe caught that an EPA official spilling the truth, spilling the tea, okay, on this one. And he said that this was an insurance policy against Trump winning. So all it was a desperate cash dump before the clock ran out. 8 major NGOs received the lion's share of the money. Well, now, under Doge, they blew the lid off of this thing. And the $20 billion was stashed at Citibank. And it's being clawed back now by the government. It is an incompetence here. It's calculated theft. That's all this is, point blank period. And it's all being traced back to that Stacey Abrams. Yeah.
April 2024, the Biden-Harris administration, via the EPA, handed over $7 billion of your money to a ghost called the United Climate Fund. This was all part of a $20 billion jackpot from the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. That was tacked in and tucked in so you couldn't really find it in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act that had nothing to do with reducing inflation. Nothing. Then the mask slips off. We find out that they were funneling cash to power forward communities. That thing is tied to Stacey Abrams. No transparency on that. No accountability. It's just a shell. She had only raised $100. That's all she could raise for her own organization. In December, it was Project Veritas that caught an EPA official spilling the truth on this one. He said this was an insurance policy against Trump winning. Now, what does that mean? So all it was a desperate cash dump before the clock ran out. Now, under the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, they blew the lid off of this thing. The $20 billion was stashed at Citibank. It's being clawed back now by the government. It isn't incompetence. It's calculated theft.
And this here, this is the enemy of humanity. CNN busted on camera admitting to coordinating with the Dems. As if that's some kind of a shock.
Oh no!
Okay, can you define propaganda? Like, I think I know, but like, how is it? What's the mechanism?
If the agenda, say, is to like get like Matt Gaetz right now, he's like this Republican, like he's a problem for the Democratic Party because he's so conservative, right? And he could cause a lot of hiccups in passing of laws and whatnot. So it would be great for the Democratic Party to get him out. So we're going to keep running those stories to keep hurting him and make it so that it can't be buried and like just settled outside of court, and just if we keep pushing that, it's helping us. That's propaganda. It's helping us in some.
And now before I go, yesterday in the video that I did, I had put in a clip of an elder woman from the Big U speaking about her thoughts and what she knows about, what's going on in her part of the world. And a community member wrote me an email, and she said, I would have written this yesterday as a rebuttal to a supposed history buff on your channel, but she pretty much did it for me. That is, per the Minsk, M-I-N-S-K, agreement, the people of the Donbass, which is 4 states, and Crimea, were to vote on whether to rejoin Russia or not. Crimea did, with the UN being present, and left. The 4 states did not get the chance, as they kept getting bombed and genocided by their own countrymen. Tanks had to roll in to save their lives. She said, I will also add that in 2014, a democratically elected president was seated, and the U.S. and Europe wanted to agree to align with the West against Russia. But he said he'd ask his government what to do. So in the end, he declined their offer, stating that they had a long history with Russia. It was at that point that the U.S. and CIA, etc., funded a revolutionary force, and they put in their own U.S. puppet. I believe his name was Poroshenko. Okay. Or something like that. All right, thank you. I believe this was the Maiden Revolution. The most surprising thing to me is that Germany's president admitted that she and other European leaders only signed the agreement in order to buy time to arm UKR. I always assumed she was Putin's bitch and would double-cross Germany. Looks like she did. The East German Russian-speaking leader double-crossed Putin. So now UKR has a dictator and former comedian, penis pianist. At the helm, who outlawed all political parties. And that was before the tanks started rolling. No surprise that the country was considered the world's most corrupt country before the tanks started rolling, and also had the moniker of Europe's laundromat. And now, since Z signed away their mineral rights and rebuilding rights to the UK 3 days before Trump's inauguration, this will be interesting. It's all interesting, isn't it? Especially when you start to dig and you're finding out what you're finding out, and you're just like, how did this happen? What's really good, And because you're not there, and you're not sitting there, and you're not watching them, so what are you signing? What are you signing? What are you saying? What are you saying? You know what I mean? And you just, you don't want to put the trust there to say, oh, okay, so that's what's being said. Okay, so that's what's being done. Okay, so that's what you signed. Oh, okay, so that's what you did. Okay, because that you're being lied to in some way or another, and the media is not going to tell you. You know what I mean? You can't rely on them. You know what I mean? And so you have to either rely on like boots on the ground, like a lot of the videos that I find for you guys. And then I had someone who actually has family that lives there. She commented on that video. And she said, well, this is what's really going on. And you're like, oh my God, And you just have to sit there and wonder, my God, And she was saying something about, I think it was her brother is still there or something like that. And you're thinking, oh dear God, you can't say enough prayers. You can't, you want to will them to come home. Please come home, be safe, and you can't do it. And you feel so bad. because you know that you know people who either know people that are over there, have family over there, have friends over there, and it's just so sad, and it's just something that we can't help them. We can't. And we have literally, this country has literally gone into so much debt. And it's like, listen, we can't keep doing this. We cannot keep doing this, you know. And the more you fund this, then everybody else gets pissed off, and this, that, and the other. And it's like, oh my God, you can't keep everybody happy. You can't, especially when here at home we have we have to take care of our own people, you know. Like I've said, I'll say it before and I'll say it again. We look at our homeless people, the victims of Helene, of Milton, the LA fires. Okay, we've got natural disasters that are happening every single day, and we can't even help our own people. But yeah, we're sending billions and billions and billions and billions, and it keeps going and going and going and going. It's like, wait a minute, hang on. What about us? When is this going to stop sending money over there? And when are you going to help us? Okay? Forget them for just a second and help our people first. America first, please. For one, please. And that's all you can really say. And that's all you can really hope for. And that's it. And just hope and pray that somebody actually answers a prayer and says, okay, you're finally going to get your way. But all right, I'm going to stop. But that's all I can, even think about, because, I can only imagine living in I don't want to imagine, let me just say that. I don't want to imagine living in a war-torn country. And, because it's not just them. I mean, just think about what's going on in South Africa, what they're doing to the white farmers and things like that. And it's like, geez, you just, it's like it's never ending. There's always something going on, and these people are being tortured, and this is look at what's going on in Syria, and it's like with the Christians are being persecuted, and this, that, and the other, and it's like, oh my God, you just don't want to take it anymore. You don't want to listen anymore. You don't want to talk about it anymore. You don't want to report on it anymore. But it's like people have to know. They have to know the truth. They have to know the freaking truth, because who else is going to tell you? You're gonna turn on Fox News? What about CNN? What about MSNBC? No, they're not gonna tell you. All right, I'm out of here. I will see you in the next one, okay? You guys stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping, and as always, fearless.